Hi, this is Taramis. I'm going to tell you how the name of a magic school in my short story, Small Benefits, gave rise to a globe-spanning empire in my role-playing game. When I wrote Small Benefits, I needed to mention the school where my aspiring mage had studied magic in his local town. So I called it the Collegium Magisterium. And on purpose, I chose a name with Latinate roots because it sounds it evokes scholarship, given our English language and the history of our language. A name like that almost sounds pretentious, but it also suggests, hallways and books and instructors and gowns and robes and all of that stuff that goes with it. So that's what I called the place in the short story. Now, when I started creating my own role-playing campaign setting, I wanted to revisit this location. The place name is called Nim on Withel. It is the capital of a Nordic city. Think of Norway with fjords and forests and mountains. So it's kind of that sort of Scandinavian air of things going on. That's where I had Nim on Withel situated in my campaign world. But I figured that my story was kind of inspired, and I treat it as canon in my head. And so the question became, why would this kind of setting have a school in it with a name so un-Nordic? And why in this place would they teach this kind of formal magic, sophisticated magic that the name suggests, when the rest of the country, I kind of knew from my imagination, had things like rune magic and witchcraft and things of this nature. Big disparity between the two styles of magic. So I started to think, if the Collegium Magisterium is established here at the capital, it's a place for elites. And where are elites coming from? Aha! This is the vestige of another place with a high cultural tone and a high magic tone that has left its imprimatur on the local, once relatively backward, woods clansmen of my Nordic country. This carries out also in the title of the ruler and the name of the region itself, and I'll talk about that in some videos shortly to come. But meanwhile, I had to start to think about the kinds of magic that this implied, who would be practicing the kind of magic implied by that name, and the answer was, it really wasn't a local product at all. This was something imported from the Empire. And the Empire, which came to be called the Korabi Empire, for the name of the major riverway that runs through it, casts a long shadow over all of this continent. Nim, it turns out, was the farthermost reaches of its colonization some centuries before. And now the Empire has had calamities and has shrunk and is no longer so continent-spanning as it once was, but it has left behind it these cultural vestiges. The Collegium Magisterium in Nim on Withel is a good example of that. It's not to say it's a hotbed of imperial culture in that place, it is not, but the elites still aspire to some of that. They dress with some of that style of clothing, and they use some of that language, and its leftovers are appearing in things like cultural institutions of higher education in magic. So that's how the Collegium Magisterium that you're going to read a mention of in Small Benefits spawned a huge empire that actually has a big impact on the rest of my fantasy world. We'll talk about more of that in forthcoming videos. Thanks, this is Taramis, signing off.